Hello YouTube! It is Accidentally Cuber, and I'm accidentally here to accidentally give you a tutorial for the I Accidentally X effect. This is a very odd effect, and I consider it odd because I do a lot of effects on my channel that concern things like music theory, they concern things like media standards, color channels. There's always sort of an intellectual bent to a lot of the effects that I do, and this is not one of those. This is an effect that I made back in, I wanna say, early 2010s. I don't know the exact date where this debuted, but I made this effect just to have fun, just to make a video look weird, and it honestly became one of my most popular effects. A lot of my most viewed videos are I accidentally videos. So despite not having the same kind of educational side to it, it ended up sort of rising to the top and became very popular with my viewers. So I'll take that as a win. Now, I have already done a tutorial on this effect using Sony Vegas. Now, newer versions of Sony Vegas I don't believe can replicate this exactly because for some reason they removed the option in the channel blend to use the hue, saturation, and luminance channels, which is kind of a bummer. But there can be some effort to remake the sort of heat map effect in Sony Vegas by using gradient map. Just have a gradient map that starts at red, goes to yellow, then green as the colors get lighter. But we're not here to talk about Sony Vegas, we're here to talk about Kdenlive. I've never done a tutorial on how to do this effect in Kdenlive, the open source way, and that is what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, before I get into the effect, I actually want to reveal the answer to Sunday's trivia. As of the time I am uploading this, 68% of people chose the first option, that the origin of my channel name was based on the Cubo TV channel and the HAL 9000 fictional computer, and that is actually not the correct answer. The correct answer is what 17% of people said. It comes from the GameCube console and the It's Over 9000 meme. When I joined YouTube back in 2010, my two favorite types of videos were mashups of the GameCube intro. It's one of the logos that I've edited on my channel quite frequently, and It's Over 9000 memes, although I haven't really incorporated that into my channel all that much. Those were my two favorite things to watch when I started this little endeavor. You know, the first option makes sense. I deal with old nostalgic logos, and Cubo is old and nostalgic. I deal with technology. HAL 9000 is a computer. So, you know, it makes sense, but the truth is that it comes from the GameCube and the Over 9000 meme. So, if you ever ponder the origins of my channel, just get the mental image in your mind of Vegeta playing Luigi's Mansion. Alright, on to the effect. So this is an effect that's actually going to use Kdenlive and Audacity, and I'll get into that where Audacity comes in later. And the video that we're going to be using for today's tutorial is the Brentwood home video logo. This is a pretty simple logo. It features just enough motion for this to work. So once you bring your video in, looks nice. So as usual, this is a 4:3 video. I want it to be widescreen, so I'm going to just do some adjustments to make it fill the widescreen. So let's see, I'm gonna fit to width, That looks nice. And if I center it vertically, it's a little high up. So why don't I do half of 702? That would be 351. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And then I will maybe add some, well, I won't add the blur. Usually what I would do to sort of upscale this video is I would add blur, and I would add a relatively low amount of blur just to smooth out the pixels. But I'm going to delete the effect for now because this will make playing back the video significantly slower when I go over this tutorial. So you can use whatever effects you want to manage the upscaling of your video. That's not really critical anyway. So the first, I guess, I accidentally isn't so much an effect. It's a bunch of things together. It's almost like a miniature YouTube poop. But it does follow a certain sequence. And the first part of I accidentally is essentially a reversal. We are going to find a part of our video where something is moving, and we're going to take that and reverse it. Kind of like those old machinima videos that were like ses or sos. We're basically doing that, but with a logo. So let's play this. Okay, so there's not much going on in this logo, but what we see is that at the very beginning, we have the logo kind of flying through space, zooming in here. So we've picked out the thing that is moving, and that's just the logo zooming in, or zooming out, I suppose. So we're going to find out where this stops. So I'm just moving frames. And this doesn't have to be exact, but it looks like the video is just about done moving at this point. The logo is completely zoomed in. If I go back a frame, it looks like it's slightly moving. If I go forward a frame, though, it's all done. So I think this is where the logo stops moving. And if you do this effect on a logo where multiple things are in motion, you can just pick one thing that is moving around, and once it stops, you're going to choose this as the point where you are going to reverse your video. So we're going to cut the video at this frame and copy the beginning and paste. Then we're going to take this clip and we're going to change the speed. We're working on the copy now. We're going to change the speed and we're going to reverse the clip. So now this is reversed. And another thing that I usually do is I apply the mirror effect, and I set this to flip so that it's horizontally flipped. Flop would be vertical. So let's play this now and see what we got. Now this part is almost done. We have the thing that's in motion going to the end of its motion. I'll turn this down a bit. Going to the end of its motion, and then when it gets to the end, we mirror it horizontally and then send it back on its original path. The only quirk in Kdenlive that you don't see in Sony Vegas is that when you reverse a clip, the audio of the resulting reversed clip can sound kind of scratchy. So usually what I do is I don't use the audio from the reversed clip directly. What I do is I remove the audio by selecting ungroup clips. So normally these would be deleted together, but if I right click on the audio that's scratchy and I hit ungroup clips, I can just delete it. And then I go to Audacity, and in Audacity is where I normally just reverse the audio by doing Effect, Reverse, and you can tell that in Audacity when I use the reverse effect, there's no scratchy artifacts like there are in Kdenlive. Also, I noticed that the project rate is only 44,100 Hertz instead of 48,000 like I normally like, and I'm gonna let it ride just for today. So I've already reversed the video, the audio anyway, so I'm just gonna drag this in. And because I have reversed the video from the beginning, I'm going to want to drag this to the end, which, mind you, is the beginning of the audio in the forward direction. And I'm going to play this. So that part is done. All I've done is just, take some portion of the beginning of the video until something stops moving. And then I tack on a reversed and mirrored copy of that same clip. So that part is all set. Now we move on to part 2. And part 2 is, I guess I'm going to informally call it the crazy part. This is where we have a short clip of the video playing over and over with different colors, and this gradually becomes faster and faster until we get to part 3. So we can just work with the remainder of the video that we have after doing part 1. That's usually what I do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in a lot, and I'm going to move the rest of the video onto the end of our reversed clip here. So when I made videos at 30 frames a second years ago, I would use 3 frames to begin with, and then I'd reverse that to 2 frames and 1 frame. But because I am working at 60 frames a second, I'm going to start by using 6 frames. So I want to select a region of this video that's 6 frames long. And I'm going to do that by just going to the right 6 frames. And we're going to cut the video here. Just to verify that this is indeed 6 frames. Yep, those are the 6. So I'm going to duplicate this a bunch of times, and just to make my life easier, I'm going to add some effects. Actually, I think I can add the effects easy enough, one at a time. So we are going to take this clip now. Okay, you know what? There is one effect I will add before I duplicate the clip. I'm just going to add the volume effect to the audio, and I'm going to raise the volume by 6 decibels. That's kind of my standard procedure. I like this part to be a little bit louder, so drag volume effect onto the audio for this short clip, raise the volume by 6 decibels, give or take. And now we're going to take this clip here, and we're going to just Control C and Control V 3 times, so that we have a total of 4 repeats of this same clip. And we are now going to add the color effects. So I'm going to go to the videos, and usually I do this by using the color channel mixer. This tends to work well for me. So in some of my newer versions of the effect, I will actually use a slightly different variation of the colors. So I'll show you both of them. I'm looking at the first clip here, and what I typically do for clip number 1 of 4 is I turn off the green channel so that this is all magenta. Now for clip number 2, I turn off the blue channel by setting that to 0. Well, blue means how much blue in your output related to blue in the input. Green is how much green. So essentially where it says red, that's controlling the red channel. Green is controlling the green channel. Blue is controlling the blue channel. So I've turned off blue. This is all yellow. I'm going to add it here. Now I'm going to turn off red. This is all turquoise. And then I'm just going to add the invert effect to the last one. So this is how I typically do it in my newer videos. Something I have done in my older videos is that I, instead of doing magenta, yellow, turquoise, I'll do red, green, blue. So to achieve that, I'm also going to turn off the blue channel in my first clip, and now that's all red. And I can also increase the value of red, green, and red, blue. I usually do something like 0.33 to brighten it up a little bit. I would do the same. This will be green. So I'll turn off red, and then I'll set green, red to 0.33, and green, blue to 0.33. And then for the cyan one, I can also turn off the green channel because I want this to just be blue, and then I would set blue red to 0.33 and blue green to 0.33. So those are 2 different variations of the color effect. My newer videos I tend to do magenta, yellow, turquoise. For my older videos I tend to do red, green, blue. So I'm going to go back to the newer version. So I'm going to set this back to 0, 0, and I'm going to turn on the blue channel. So that's magenta. I'm going to fix this one too. This should be yellow. So I'm going to turn back on the red channel, and then I'll set green to be just green. This should be turquoise, so I'm going to also turn on green. And then I'll turn blue, red, and blue, green off. The last video, or the last short clip of these 4 always has the invert effect. That's the only thing that's never changed. We are also going to add some mirror effects. I'll show you what I typically do, but this isn't an exact science either. I'm going to add the mirror effect here to the second and the third videos. Actually, I think there's a separate effect that may... This is probably easier to work with. So what I usually do is, of these 4 clips, I flip the second one horizontally, I flip the third one vertically, and then, does Flippo have a rotate option? Yes, it does. If I drag Flippo onto it, the default is actually to just rotate it 180 degrees. So all of these are now flipped differently. And essentially all that matters is that all of these have some different mirroring effect. So one of them should be not flipped, one of them should be flipped horizontally, one of them should be flipped vertically, one of them should be flipped horizontally and vertically. Something else that I've done in the past is, instead of flipping number 3 vertically and flipping number 4 both ways, I'll flip number 3 both ways, I'll flip number 4 vertically, then it kind of looks like the video is rotating. But, you know, again, it's not an exact science. It doesn't really matter what you choose as long as it looks weird and silly. So I'm going to bring it back to the way I typically do it. There we go. I'll zoom out just a little bit. So now we've added all the effects that we're going to add to these 4 clips. So we are going to select all of them. And we're going to copy, Control-C, and we're going to paste these. Did it paste those? Let me move this so we have lots of room to work. So we're going to paste these videos 3 times. So that's time number 1. We're going to drag so that it's right up against the old copies. This is number 2. I sound like the eye doctor. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. And this is number 3. So now we should have 16 of these short 6 frame long things. Now we're going to zoom in on the last 4 because this is where we start picking up speed. These are 6 frames long. I'm going to reduce these to 4 frames. Now if I was working at 30 FPS, then these would be 2 frames, but I think pretty much everyone makes 60 FPS video now, so let's stick with that. So these are each 4 frames long, just to verify. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So I'm gonna squeeze these together. Zoom out a tad. And again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take 4 copies of the video, or the last 4 copies, Control-C, and then I'm going to paste these in 3 times. Then we are going to zoom in on the last 4 again, and we're going to reduce the length from 4 frames to 2. And if you were editing at 30 FPS, you would change this to 1 frame. Squeeze those together. Copy the last 4, and then paste these in 3 times. So that's time number 1. Let me and there is time number 3. So let me just preview what we have here. You can see that we're almost done with the effect. We are just not at the final part, which is part 3, the loud part. This is where we have the video take on some crazy colors and slowly zoom in and usually spin around as well. So I'm going to, at the end of this long stretch of these quick bursts of video, I'm going to drag the rest of the video that we haven't edited yet, and I'm going to apply a few effects here. Now, Vegas has better options for zooming. Usually I would zoom all the way into the center of the video until it's as large as it can possibly be. We can't quite do that in Kdenlive, but we can still sort of emulate the look and feel of the effect that was in Vegas. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add the, well, I've already added the transform effect, but I'm going to change some things here. We can see that the transform effect can actually have keyframes, so we can set different values at different points in time. So I'm going to add a keyframe to the end here, and I will set the size of the video. How do I want to do this? I think if I set it to 300, that should be what I want, right? Maybe I can even up the ante a little bit and do something like 500. Yeah, 500 is good. So we're going to zoom in, and I'm also going to rotate this video twice. And to achieve that, I'm going to set the rotation at the end to 360 degrees, and then I'll set the rotation at the beginning to negative 360 degrees. Easy enough. So this is going to spin. It lives in Spain, but without the A. And then I'm going to add a color effect, an aptly named color effect called color effect. And this is meant for adding the crazy colors, and this just is a series of presets, and I usually choose the heat preset. This, I think, is the closest I can get to looking like the old effect in Vegas. It's not a perfect match, but it looks pretty darn close. Now, for making the video loud, you have a few options. The options in Kdenlive aren't always great. I will show you something that you can do. Usually, I apply the effect pitch scaler, and I set the pitch coefficient to 0.8. And then I add fold over distortion, and I sort of mess with these values here. So I could try something like 0.5, 0.5. I'll just see what happens. And you know, you can see that this isn't exactly a great solution here. It certainly sounds messy, but it's not really making the video louder. The distortion in Kdenlive isn't great. So if you want to do the second part of the video in Audacity, that's also an option, and that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go back to the audio that I had, and I'm going to add the pitch shift effect, and I'll change the pitch by -4 semitones. Then I will add distortion with the preset hard clipping, and I'll set the drive all the way up to the top and keep other things at their default. I think the clipping level is the default, but if it is not, then just drag it all the way down. I apply this. I'll turn down my volume a tad because I'm sure this is going to be loud. Ah yes, our audio is nice and crunchy, just the way I like it. So if you want to use Audacity to apply the loudness effect, you can. If you want to use Kdenlive, you can as well, but you may have some trouble getting it to work. So I'm choosing to use Audacity today because I couldn't get it to work well in Kdenlive. So I'm going to get rid of this audio, the original. I've ungrouped the clip. I'm going to delete it. Then I will drag in the audio that I put from Audacity. I'll turn the volume down. And because this is the end of the video here, I'm going to drag this to the end. I'll match it up so that it syncs up with the end of the video, and then I'll drag this forward just to fill the space. And now things should be the way that we want. Note that Kdenlive's preview may be a little bit slow, so this isn't going to look perfect. It'll probably look better when I render it, but I will show you a preview regardless. Now, I don't know about you, but I feel like I just accidentally that video really well. So that is what I usually do on Linux to apply the I accidentally effect. As usual, I say this in all my videos. I'm sure people are tired of hearing it, but I'm going to say it anyway. The point of my videos and my tutorials is not to force people to apply these effects the same exact way I do. This effect in particular does remind me of YouTube poops, like I said before. So if you want to take something from this effect and adapt it in your own way, if you want to apply an effect like the one that I've done here, but you want to make some of your own changes, absolutely go ahead, be inspired. I mainly just do this so that you can see how I do it and, you know, learn whatever you want. So hopefully now people who are using open source software and don't want to pay top dollar for Sony Vegas can now apply the effect in Kdenlive or something like it. As usual, feel free to ask any questions in the comments. Thank you all for your attention and have a good day.